The Activision Blizzard deal is finally done. It is put to bed. Hopefully, this is the last we ever hear about it. Now, this deal has been going since January of 2022. Wow. And we made a judgment call around that time that after we mentioned it once, we would not mention it again until the deal concluded. That conclusion has now happened. Now, Lewis, I wonder if you would be able to be so kind as to give the audience a bit of an overview of where this deal is, what's happened over the course of this deal going through. We'll just open it up and get your thoughts on it.
Very much a pleasure. So this is, as you said, it's been going on for over a year now. It's been dragging, and pretty much every single country in the world has approved it, apart from America. The FTC tried to stop it, and the CMA tried to stop it, and the CMA is the British government. So the CMA tried to block it for cloud, which is still up in the air. They're still trying to sort that out now. And the FTC took it to court and failed miserably because their court case was completely pathetic and useless and awful. And apparently Linda Khan, the person who runs the FTC, apparently has not been paying her bar or anything, so she's not even a legal lawyer anymore. So that's funny. She wanted a pay rise of 33%, and then she had a pay cut of 25% because she's been so awful. And she got completely roasted by the Supreme Court. So it was quite hilarious, actually. So the FTC have completely failed. They tried to appeal it, and then they failed that as well. So Xbox can just close it. If they don't close it by Monday, they will owe $3 billion to Activision. So expect it to be closed over the weekend. And yeah, that's pretty much sums it up.
Wow. Well, I mean, this is a pretty landmark deal. Does anyone have the costs associated with this to hand? I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, Lewis.
Well, 69 billion for the actual acquisition itself, which it's not small change by any means. I'd be quite happy with like a fraction of that, to be honest.
Here comes the money.
Here comes the money. We still got the CMA to deal with. This is the UK government. They're concerned that Xbox are going to have a monopoly in the cloud market, which is not even really a thing. Like, who the hell plays on cloud? Like, literally no one. And Xbox is saying no one plays on cloud. Like, it's our worst like segment of our business. So it's completely ridiculous. But the rumor is they're gonna sell the rights to cloud streaming to EE, which for any American viewers is a phone provider in the UK. So we'll see what happens there. We don't know what's happening yet. That's still happening. But yeah, it's basically as soon as the FTC trial fell to pieces, the CMA just went, we're sorry, please, we'll take any deal we have available, please don't leave. Because there was literally the UK is the only country in the world standing against the acquisition. Literally everyone else accepted it, so they didn't want to look foolish. Plus the politicians and stuff have got involved now trying to stop, or trying to get the CMA to change their mind because, well, it's not good for the UK economy. It would be a complete disaster if Windows pulled out of the UK. Because like Windows is not, like, it's not just Xbox, it's Windows as well. So like the government runs on Windows computers and Windows stuff. So imagine the UK without Windows, and it'd be disastrous. So they're trying to get this all sorted before the end of the weekend. So fingers crossed.
Well, watch this space. I mean, the thing about it is that at this point, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion, isn't it? That it's going to wrap. And this is something that we've spoke about every now and again it's kind of come up, but we haven't really spent too much time on it. But I think it was pretty much a foregone conclusion that it was going to go through. The biggest kind of question for myself always, whenever this has gone on, is just what does it mean for the IPs? Now, there was some breaking news today that Sony have agreed to sign a deal, which is good news for us. So it means that we still will receive Call of Duty. Now, the original post by Phil Spencer, as they always are, was just totally lacking any of the actual detail that anyone requires, which seems to be always the case with Xbox, or PlayStation whenever they post any of these things out. Both sides were guilty of this. But since then, since that announcement happened this morning, it's been announced that it was actually a 10-year deal. So we got 10 years of Call of Duty remaining on PlayStation, and then we kind of go from there. Now, Guys, I'm going to pass it over to you all. I'm going to come to yourself first, Lewis. Before then we move around, we'll go to Spence, and then we'll end up with Phil before I give my thoughts on this. What is your thought on the Xbox side of camp when it comes to Activision now being a member of the family? Is this something you're excited by, or does it pose a worry with the studio, the publisher itself, becoming an even larger entity than it already is? Because it's got a lot of game studios under its banner at this point.
Yeah, it's very interesting. There's a lot to unpack here. So obviously the first thing you were saying about Jim Ryan finally signing the deal after crying and whining for like a year and a half. He's lucky that I don't run Xbox, because I would have been like, I'm changing the deal. Pray I don't change it any further. I would give him a much worse deal than what he's got, because he should have signed it when I gave it to you in the first place, mate. But Phil seems a bit more sensible than me, and a bit more level-headed. But I would have completely given him a really bad deal because of the way he's been acting, to be honest. But that's just me. But yeah, on a serious note, though, Activision Blizzard makes Xbox on like the similar size to PlayStation when it comes to studios. I believe it's about equal now. Maybe slightly, got like one or two more. So, but obviously, PlayStation seem to be much better at organising their studios, which is which is quite interesting to see. I mean, if Xbox didn't acquire Bethesda, we would have had a very light year this year. It would literally just be Minecraft Legends and Forza. That would literally be our only two games this year. So they need to expand their portfolio, and this is how they plan to do it. They keep buying big publishers because they basically want them to be self-sufficient and just run themselves, and they don't want to micromanage them. But as you can see with stuff like Redfall, that's not always a good thing. So it's going to be interesting to see how they bring them into the fold. This is not going to be, even though the deal looks like it's done, there's still going to be plenty more of stuff to sort out. This is not going to be like, oh, well, now everything's sorted. Like, click your fingers, done. They've always all that sexual harassment stuff and all this bad stuff going on in Activision, so they've got to try and fix that as well. It's a lot to handle. I don't envy the people in charge. It's a big deal. But what Xbox have also been saying as well since day one is this is more of a play to get into the mobile space, which I don't think is really good for us because we're all console gamers, but they want to try and make a dent in the mobile phone space, which they didn't really have any dent at all in before this acquisition. Essentially, they want to break up the duopoly of Android and Apple when it comes to the phone, the iOS stores. So they want to make a third iOS store that can go alongside those and force Apple to put it on their phones and force Android to put it on their phones as well, which would be good for consumers, but I'm not a mobile gamer, so I honestly don't care. What it means for us, gamers, for me, means I'm going to have a lot more games to play on Game Pass, which makes me happy, and I'm going to be able to play Call of Duty without paying any extra money. Yay for me. But for you guys, PlayStation guys, doesn't really going to make any real difference, I would imagine. You're still getting Call of Duty, you're still paying $70 a year to play it, but you're not going to get the betas and all that, and like your extra modes and stuff. I imagine that's all going to be gone. But I think it's going to be good for you in the long run because it's going to make Sony compete, and they're going to probably buy another publisher or bring back Resistance or Killzone, which is what I want them to do, but that's not, I think in the long run it'll be a good thing for everyone, personally. That's my personal opinion.
Well, we'll come back to talking about what the potential future is when it comes to buying up publishers or anything like that momentarily. But Spence, I want to come over to you, really, get your thoughts on this. Now the deal's concluded. What are you thinking?
I think it's kind of, as much as I'm not particularly happy about the deal, it's also kind of, I don't feel like it hinders me too much, so I'm fine with it. I think it's great that we got this new deal for Call of Duty for the next 10 years, because with the initial deal, I thought as much as Activision are going to be happy with that lump sum, they're going to be losing so much revenue in the future from the fact that that's on Game Pass exclusively. No one's going to be buying Call of Duty ever again. So for the next 10 years, they're still going to be making sales, and Call of Duty makes gangbusters. Absolute gangbusters. If anything, Xbox, I think, would be smarter to say 15 years, 20 years. In fact, we'll just keep giving you Call of Duty because that money's coming to us. I don't understand why they even really made this deal. But I think it's fine. As much as it does suck as well to not get these betas and everything like you said, Lewis, I think I'm fine with that. I know I'm going to be buying Call of Duty in the future. for as long as we have it. I don't need these betas as much as they've always been a nice little thing to do in the meantime to build up the hype and be like, oh, fuck, this game's sick. It's fine. I know it's going to be great.
Well, I think the thing about it is that, the marketing deal runs out this year. So it's the last year of Call of Duty being tied to the PlayStation brand. So that's why they're saying that obviously Modern Warfare 3, as the rumor is, that's coming out in November. And that's why there's this whole other argument about, there's going to be another showcase because they're going to show COD, la 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 la. So, all right, well, we'll wait and see. But, I mean, the thing about it is, what do we get from that deal at the moment? We get a week early access to the beta before it goes into general release. So we will still get a beta, I imagine, but it will be a week after the Xbox already has their beta. And we get one extra custom class slot. And that's it. I mean, it's not like as if there's loads. In previous entries of COD, we've had like random modes that have been specific to PlayStation, but they've all been throwaway shit.
Oh, we get extra XP as well, permanently.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. We do get an XP boost, don't we? But really, these are like minor negative things. They're not going to be a difference between choosing a platform or not, really.
No.
The Game Pass thing definitely will make a difference, but I'm sure we'll come on to that in a moment. So, Mr. Hoy, what about yourself? What are your thoughts?
Well, Davey, I'm glad you asked, because I was quite surprised when I saw this pop up in the doc today. I was like, oh yeah, we've got to talk about that, haven't we? I haven't been following this along very closely at all, really. I think back in January of 2022, I thought this was a done deal. I just thought it was a matter of time and it would just kind of, trickle out. And it wasn't that important to me. I haven't been, the biggest of COD fans over the years. Okay, we've jumped into the most modern one now and we play a little bit of the raid. But outside that, I don't feel like this deal really affects me personally. But for the face of, PlayStation and the player base that we talk to on a regular basis, this is a bit of a ticking time bomb. This is what happens now to the future of FPS for PlayStation. We've got 10 years now of COD, so that's basically we've got COD for the PS5. As soon as we get to the PS6, PlayStation need to come up and we need to have a new FPS ready to roll, and that's what's exciting me. Lewis, you've talked about a couple of options for the future, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail. But for me, I think that's the interesting part of this conversation, not really what happens to COD for me personally. The one that does interest me, though, because I am a long-standing, I suppose, Blizzard fan, and I'm interested to see now what that means to them and them bringing more of their games to console. Okay, they're going to be bringing them to Xbox, but still that's really super interesting to me because, okay, they've got Diablo and they've got Overwatch coming, but some of the bigger games, like StarCraft and World of Warcraft and games like that, how are they going to move over now to console? And are they going to be moving over to console? Are we going to see a Heroes of the Storm and things like that over on console? Games like Hearthstone, is that going to come to console? That would be really interesting for me.
I absolutely adore Hearthstone. Really. I was going to also mention the fact that you were talking about Call of Duty. I thought it was interesting. I heard this the other day. The three most downloaded games on PlayStation this year are Call of Duty on PS5, Call of Duty on PS4, and then Minecraft. So basically, Microsoft is the top publisher on PlayStation at the moment, which is really strange to think. And then obviously we have NBA and Destiny and stuff on the Xbox as well. So it is a really weird time to be alive when the console wars are still a thing, but they do seem to be a bit, I don't know, games to play on both sides, and I don't think you guys have to worry about Call of Duty going anywhere. I think they're going to keep it on there because it makes so much money on PlayStation, as you said. And as you guys are willing to pay the full price for it, so it's they'll probably make more money from it that way as well. So, you get the people coming over for Game Pass playing on the Xbox, but then you'll also have the dedicated PlayStation fans like yourself paying for it as well. So they they don't lose anything from it. So it's double the income. So yeah.
No, it is interesting. I mean, it's crazy to think now that pretty much every single awesome little cool mascot that we've ever had for PlayStation is now owned by Xbox, right? With Crash and Spyro gone as well, right? So it's mad. It's mad. Now, my thoughts on this, guys, very similar to all of you, really, in terms of what this means for us, for the future of Call of Duty, everything else. But where my mind goes with this is I'm actually kind of worried about Activision's output over the next couple of years. And the reason for that is kind of twofold. The first one is that if you've got a company which has had a leader like Bobby Kotick, and sure, say what you will again about him, but the guy's a businessman, right? And so he makes sure that they get a new COD every single year, that it's put up to a certain standard that the fans will like, even if then after a couple of months they all hate it and say it's the worst COD ever, and then in 5 years down the line look back and say that was actually a great COD, right? Happens all the time. But with him going, and now there's going to be this like leadership vacuum, with then Microsoft having the kind of management over their studios that they are known for at the moment, I do worry that we may get to a point where we don't get COD to the same quality, that we don't get, Blizzard already are a bit of a clusterfuck when it comes to their games. You get some which are put out and they're great, and some which are put out and they don't even work properly. So I do worry about that. And I think the next few years are going to be a bit tricky when it comes to Activision Blizzard, because anytime you have a change in leadership, you have new people that come in with a brand new vision, a brand new kind of approach for the company. And with Bobby going, it could go anywhere. It could get better, and we could maybe see COD go to like a biannual franchise, which then has a lot of polish, where we don't have like a UAV glitch like we have right now, where the most basic kill streak in the entire game is now the most powerful, because it shows every single person's location in real time, just like an advanced UAV, and that glitch has been going for 2 months. Maybe we won't have that kind of stuff. Maybe they'll kind of calm down on the cosmetics and up the quality, but I don't know. And that's where my mind goes. I'm kind of a little bit more curious, I suppose, to see where we go. And that's kind of my initial thoughts. But I do think we're going to see kind of business as usual on our end. In terms of the output that Activision have, in terms of the same kind of core franchises that we get right now. I can't see Crash or anything like that being exclusive to Xbox, but maybe they will. And to be fair, those games don't sell gangbusters anyway. They're not console sellers. It shouldn't be gutted if they do go exclusive, but we'll wait and see. The kind of closing thought before we delve this conversation off into different places from me is that I honestly don't think they're going to put COD on Game Pass for the newest entry every single year. I don't think they will. I think they'll leave it a year. I think that you want to be able to milk your player base for cash. I think they honestly will. I honestly don't see why they would want to give up that revenue for that year's COD when they can have a huge splash by just saying, hey, here's Black Ops 3 on Game Pass now. Here's Black Ops 2. Here's all the classic CODs. You can play all of those, no problem. But it's a year or two before it trickles into the service. And that way then, you're not losing that money from Activision, which is a huge cash cow market for COD, but they're getting all the benefit from all the betas and all that stuff. That's how I would do it if I was running Xbox. And like kind of how PlayStation Extra do it, where it trickles in after a year or two. Don't know if anyone's got any thoughts on that before we delve off into different places.
I mean, I'm pretty sure they've already said that it will be coming to Game Pass day and date already. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I have heard that. How they would counter that? How they would counter that was obviously they're bringing it to Switch, they're bringing it to PC, and they're bringing it to PlayStation. All those console owners will be paying full price for it, and then the Xbox owners, they're going to get gullible people like me who will pay extra money for the premium version to get it a couple of days early, like I did with Starfield. I've paid £30 for Starfield 5 days early. And I got the controller and everything. That's how they're going to get people. They release a premium version that's like, oh, get 5 days early access and you get the season pass and extra content and all that for £35. And they'll get the Call of Duty fanboys with that. I am sure that they will pay for that. So that's their workaround. I'm pretty sure and their goal is to make Game Pass like ubiquitous. They want it to be the next Netflix, so they are willing to sacrifice the income of a Call of Duty to get it to that level. Because having Call of Duty day one is going to be a Game Pass like driver, like a subscription. Stranger Things comes out, everyone gets Netflix. It's going to be the same thing now with Game Pass. So, the new Call of Duty is on Game Pass. I'm going to subscribe, and that's going to be their big fluctuation of customers. So I think they already said that it's going to be day one still. But hey, you never know. Maybe you might be right, Davey. But from what I've heard, it is going to still be day one.
I've just been doing a quick Google around, and I think you guys are slightly missing the PC market here. Because, of course, if Call of Duty comes to Game Pass, I would assume that would be included in the PC offering and Game Pass as well. And the study that I'm looking at is the market share for COD. And that study was done in March of 2023. So it says 42% PlayStation users. So the mass market, really. That's where most people are playing the modern Call of Duties. Then you've got Xbox at 25.6%. And then you've got the rest over on PC. So the actual PC share is bigger than COD. So you're going to be losing out on their money as well. And I think generally PC games are cheaper. So they're not paying the higher echelons that we are over on PlayStation. But there is a big chunk of money there that you're going to lose by including Call of Duty within Game Pass for PC.
They do some... with PC Game Pass, it is kind of inferior to the console Game Pass. They do have those kind of... like what Davey was saying about Game Pass on the console, that's usually what they like with the PC version a lot of the time. Games will come slightly later, or they'll have a slightly inferior version, so that's possible. Yeah, you're right about PC. It is a big market, but they're also trying to grow in that market as well. So I could see, I don't know, it's up in the air still, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. And I mean, this is the thing, and I've said this countless times on the podcast, but Big Daddy Microsoft, they can fund it for the moment, and they're not worried about it. But at some point, it's going to reach a point where they say, right, well, the balance books are looking like Xbox and Game Pass are losing us a fucking bucket ton, and we got to increase it somehow, right? So the next couple of years are going to be really interesting to see what happens if they get the growth that they're expecting from this. If they double subscriber base overnight, fantastic, right? They'll be jumping for joy on that. But if they only increase by like 10% or something, I imagine they're going to have to really go back to the drawing board and think what they can do in terms of managing their back books. But we'll have to wait and see. I suppose time will tell, and I'm sure that we'll be at episode 100 and we'll be able to break down the stats. But let's move on to what the kind of future looks like. Now, this is something I really want you guys' opinion on, because I've seen this and it just... I couldn't fucking believe what I was reading, right? Let me pull this up on Twitter. Hold up. Yeah, here we go. So this tweet, right? This tweet went out to like 283,000 people saw this, right? And there's loads of different replies and stuff. But this guy called Nick on Twitter, Parvam Provinci or whatever it is. Best thing PlayStation can do is to ban COD on PlayStation and create deals with Battlefield now that COD veterans are in charge. Microsoft and AVK will lose billions. Sony will lose too, but they will take them back from Battlefield and EAFC deals. Right, can we just be honest here? What a shit take that is. What an absolutely abhorrently shit take. There is no chance that PlayStation would ever do this. Now, I could see maybe they get the marketing deal for Battlefield. That's exactly what Xbox did for the last Battlefield. They had the marketing deal for it because COD had PlayStation. It makes perfect sense to do that. I can see that too. But you wouldn't fucking cut your nose off. PlayStation, they just do it. They have to do nothing, and they get 30% of the sale for whatever gets sold on the platform for doing literally fuck all. What a crazy take. Like, this is the thing. I'm seeing shit like this all over. And the other take I'm seeing, guys, and I want your opinion on this as well, is I see them coming out and saying, all right, now it's time for PlayStation to buy EA. Now it's time for them to buy Capcom. Now it's time for them to buy... And it's like, right, let's just hold the fucking phone here. Everyone's buying everyone at the moment. The industry at large is being consolidated into the hands of very few. We want to fucking stop this nonsense. Like, I don't mind if we bought little studios. Like, I personally really want the next purchase to be Arrowhead, the makers of Helldivers. That's the purchase that I really want to see. It makes perfect sense for me. I thought it would have happened years ago, but it never has. There's a difference between that and buying someone like an EA or a Capcom or fucking Ubisoft or anything like that. You don't want that to happen, because the more you get these massive publishers under the hands of very few people, you're going to see just a lack of creativity, a lack of focus, a lack of vision, and ultimately it's going to just dilute our industry. And so I personally do not want to see a fire back from PlayStation on this. I could be in the minority here, guys, But what are you thinking? Do we need to buy someone, or do we need to adopt Battlefield as the new game that you and me sweat every single day now, Spence? What do you think?
Mate, I completely agree with you. I think Sony going to be making money regardless. There's no need for a clapback. We have enough studios. Xbox has enough studios. Just settle down. Let all the big boys be where they want to be. Let games be multi-platform. I don't understand. To be fair, we have phenomenal exclusives, but we didn't buy these studios before they start, like after they started making them. We didn't see them make an exclusive and think, oh, we won those games for us. We bought them, and then they became as great as they are, more or less. Naughty Dog, I don't know, but
yeah, Naughty Dog would class under that. Yeah, I mean Crash, and then that was it in the family, right? Yeah, I think generally you're onto something there.
Yeah, it's not like we're just trying to get the biggest names, seeing Rockstar, Bethesda, everyone, and thinking, oh, chuck them money. They're ours now. There's no point. Sony don't have a reason to clap back. As much as they might be a bit pissed off, sure, they've brokered a deal for 10 years of Call of Duty, and they're going to be making money hand over fist. There is no reason for them to clap back. At least maybe plan something for the deep future for when those 10 years are up. But for now, don't rush into anything. And like you said, bro, just buy Arrowhead, please. Please. You don't need to be fair. We're getting Helldivers 2 exclusive anyway. But
just give them that. Just get them in the family before
give
someone
them
else
the money.
does. Yeah,
give them the money. Yeah, there's just you may as well. I don't think there are some studios that I think just would refuse to be bought by Xbox. And I think Arrowhead is one. I think Capcom's one. And I feel like some of those studios, Capcom as well. I don't think Capcom would want to be purchased by Sony.
No.
I think it's just the way they go. They're making so much money. If it wasn't for 69 billion going to Bethesda Activision, they would have probably refused. It's just such a ludicrous amount that they were like, fucking yeah, I suppose so. It's stupid. And Xbox aren't making that much money to be giving it away. They're taking money out of Windows. That's all they're doing. It's not their money to spend. I feel like they should spend what they earn, if you know what I mean. I'm sure Sony's dipped into their other platforms too, their DVD players, their TVs, their
DVD players.
The sales of DVD players, mate.
Woo!
Sales,
they're
mate.
flying off.
£8 a pop now, charity shop.
Yeah,
but they're making
the shelves.
30% on those. But I think just spend what you earn. I think just do what you're doing. I want to see all the acquisitions just stop. There's no need for it. We got enough games. Xbox could use some more, but they've just bought a lot. So they should be quite happy. If Xbox goes and buys another studio now after spending that amount of money, I would be amazed. Absolutely amazed. There's no need. Sony don't need to retaliate.
Well, we thought this with the Bethesda deal, right? When that was wrapped, thought, right, well, this is the end of like huge purchases. You know, Bethesda was worth more than Star Wars, I think they paid for that one. And so you think, right, well, it's got to stop, and it just doesn't ever seem to. And it seems to be just this war at the moment that people on Twitter are putting out there of it being like, oh, we're buying Rockstar next. It's like, right, yeah, no way. No fucking way are we buying Take-Two, right? We can't Sony don't have that kind of money to buy Take-Two.
I mean, there's a rumor going around now that that's Xbox's next acquisition is Take-Two, apparently. That's the rumor going around, which is ridiculous. But yeah, during the court case, it did come out that they were trying to buy Sega before they tried to get Activision. That was their next target. I believe Sega's come out recently saying they didn't want to get purchased, but they're just going to keep having a close relationship with Sega. But I imagine if they paid them double or triple what they're worth, I'm pretty sure they would cave and join Xbox, I would imagine. What Spence, you were saying about Activision, they were actually trying to get sold. They were like pitching around to different companies to try and get sold when the deal came through, because they were like all the sexual harassment stuff and all that. The Activision was like a really bad place in the stock market and stuff. So they were just trying to get sold by like literally anyone. I think I can't remember exactly. I think it was Amazon they approached, I believe, first.
That's horrendous.
And then Phil was just like, Phil Spence just jumped in. But yeah, consolidation is not great. I agree with you on that. I mean, for me, this is good because obviously I'm a Game Pass subscriber and I'm really enjoying having access to all these new games. But consolidation, no, it's obviously not a good thing. But the only thing I could really say to counter that is that it's going to happen anyway. You got Tencent, you got the Embracer Group, Amazon's trying to get into the gaming space, Google's trying to get into the gaming space. It's, I predicted it like a while ago, but I do think that either Amazon or Google will be buying PlayStation at some point. Just to warn you guys, I think that will probably happen because they want to get in the gaming space, and like that's the biggest, like the number one company in the business at the moment, PlayStation. So or at least they'll attempt to buy it. I'm not sure if PlayStation will be coerced because I don't know if you guys heard the story that when Xbox first started out, they wanted to buy Nintendo and Nintendo laughed them out of the room. So it might be a similar thing to that with Amazon and Google, but that is something that they are looking into getting into the business as well. So I'm just happy Activision's going to Microsoft and not one of Embracer Group or Tencent personally. That's the way I see it.
Well, before I hand it over to Phil, because I know he's chomping at the bit, can I just say personally, if Amazon buys Sony and they buy it outright, and I can get my PlayStation Plus in with my Amazon Prime subscription, you can fucking bet your ass I'll be singing the praises of Amazon. Right? They got a shit record for managing pretty much everything apart from Amazon itself. But hey, fucking sign me up. If I get that for $7.99 with my Prime and I get next day delivery on my PlayStation Essential stuff, fucking do it, boys. Do it. I'll get my PlayStation Edge with a discount or something. Next day delivery for free. Woo-hoo. Sign me up. Anyway, Mr. Hoy, over to you.
I was just going to butt in because I was laughing to myself because I listen to Lewis's show quite often. I'm a big fan of your Twitter, very controversial Twitter, and every 5 minutes he's talking about this new company being acquired. And I think the last couple of weeks you've been talking quite a lot about the Sega possible acquisition with Microsoft. So I've been enjoying all the banter that I've been seeing on your Twitter. Very good job. But for me, guys, all of this, I think I want to look at this as an opportunity for PlayStation, okay? I don't think it's our time, really, for us to bite back, as we're all saying. We don't need to go out and acquire a new company because PlayStation, we have quality in our locker already. We don't need to go out and acquire a new company to fight off this COD rival, in my opinion. I feel like the studios we have at the moment, we could invest within those, invest internally. We've now got 10 years, as I said at the start of the show, to start piecing together the next FPS for the PlayStation 6. And I think that's what we should be putting our time, our effort, our hopes and our prayers into, not about let's acquire Capcom, let's go and buy whoever, Disney or whoever, I don't know, right? I don't care. We don't need to be buying companies. We have it in our locker.
That's a good thing.
I mean, I think Disney would be buying Sony. I mean, it'd be the other way around because Disney has a lot more money than Sony.
I think that's definitely. The
I mean,
case.
you guys have got. You guys have got Foam Stars. I'm sure that'll be like pretty good. I mean,
we leave that. We leave that to the side. Fuck Foam Stars. Fuck Foam Stars.
No, on a serious note, though, you've got Marathon, which I'm really excited for, and I'm really jealous that you guys are going to be getting that. Like, well, it's coming to Xbox as well, but Marathon, I'm really excited for because I'm a big Bungie fan. So,
well, this is what I was going to say is that we got a couple of live service games now, which were announced at the showcase, which we're seeing for next year, which will give us a couple of shooters in the back catalogue, which would be quite nice. And as you said, Lewis, they're open to everyone, which is the best place for some kind of live service game to be a multi-plat, definitely. For me, what I'm hoping we see, guys, is I want to see some of these old games which have reverence within the PlayStation community. I want to see them get a fresh pair of legs to run and to be single player stories with great multiplayer modes. That's what I want. I want to see some Resistance, some Killzone, some of these kind of IPs that have long been just collecting dust now. I want to see them return, or if not, if we're not even going down that avenue, I want to see someone like Naughty Dog take on an FPS. Somebody with that kind of caliber in their studio. Naughty Dog are always trying to change. They never stick with an IP for that long. I mean, Uncharted lasted from the PS3 generation and then one entry on one and DLC on PS4. Last of Us looks like it's probably going down the same route. I mean, we're going to have this multiplayer game, and then after that, Last of Us 3, I imagine, is where the series ends. I assume, unless they decide to milk that horse for a little bit longer. Milk that horse. Milk that cow. You can milk a horse.
That's a strange milk, that is.
You can milk a horse. It is a mammal. It is a mammal. But, we're all thinking about milking the cock. Anywho, back on track. So, yeah, I think some of these studios, right, that have renown, that have shown that they've got talent, that they want to stretch their legs, they don't want to be working on the same things in perpetuity. Let's give them a chance to try on FPS. And I think there's not really a studio, apart from Media Molecule, that I think couldn't handle it. I think Media Molecule can't handle fucking making any kind of game, to be honest with you. That's why they get the community to do it themselves. But every other studio, I think, could do an FPS, especially when you've got someone like Bungie in your, a phone call away to say, hey, can you have a look at this and make sure we're doing this right? What lessons can we learn from you, from creating these amazing single-player experiences in Halo 1, 2, 3, and ODST? So I think, you've got a studio that has that caliber already built in. Lean on them, push out some new IP. That's what PlayStation's all about. It's all about new IP and just not relying on everything. We don't have the same kind of pillars, that Xbox had for a long time, where it's Gears, Forza, Halo. We never really had that in PlayStation apart from God of War. That's the only one that seems to just last console to console, and of course Gran Turismo. But that's my thoughts, guys. What are you thinking? What are you thinking, Lewis? We'll come around to you. We'll go in a different order. What do you think? Do you think we need to revive some of these old ones or create new? What's your thoughts?
I mean, obviously the idea is always to create new, but the world we live in, everything needs a brand recognition. You need to have stuff that people recognize so they sell better. You could obviously say, from the people who brought you The Last of Us. I mean, you could have that at the beginning, that works. But brand recognition is a really big thing, really. I think, bring back Killzone. I prefer Killzone to Horizon personally, so I would totally be happy with a new Killzone if Guerrilla went back to it. I doubt they will, but I would love that. But yeah, Resistance. You've got lots of really good first-person IPs in your back catalogue, and I think that you could just bring them back, even if they're just superficially completely different, but just have just the name, just for brand recognition. Siphon Filter, just bring that back, but just have it completely different. Just like a first-person shooter that has nothing to do with the original game, just call it Siphon Filter, because that will probably bring people back who are nostalgic. I don't know. But nostalgia is a powerful drug, and PlayStation do have a lot of these names that people are nostalgic for. Even if the games some of them are a bit rubbish, people will still be nostalgic for some of these older games. So I think your best bet is to bring back a lot of stuff, but new games are always better, but I think nostalgia sells.
Well, it's definitely a drug we all are very fond of, and especially in this world of remakes, as we were speaking about earlier on the show, it's only going to keep going, unfortunately. Well, fortunately and unfortunately, there's some which are shocking and should never ever see the light of day again, and others that, just amazing, like Dead Space. But, Mr. Hoy, you mentioned about a 10-year plan, 10 years or whatever, to get something booted up and ready to go, get it out the door to compete with the big boys in Xbox. What are you thinking?
I completely agree with Lewis. Yeah. I agree that we have, some amazing names and some amazing names that we could almost reimagine now for the future of PlayStation. And I want to cast your minds back now to PlayStation 3. And it's a game I think that we all have fond memories about. And we reference quite a lot on this show. And it's the massively action game MAG. Now, back on the PS3, this game had a lot of big ideas, okay? Were they executed well? No. Was the game good? No. Was it a laggy piece of terrible poop? Yes. The game was terrible. But it's a game that has stuck with us. And if I'm taking a vote, that's the whole all four of us remember this game. And I think it would be an IP if there was a new MAG now coming out for PS6 or the end of the PS5. I think the power of the PS5 and the future of PlayStation, we could realise those big dreams that they had back on PS3. And it's the perfect title for the future of FPS on PlayStation.
Well, thank God.
Please clip that. Yes. Please clip that.
MAG 2. Yes.
MAG 2.
Thank God. Thank God we are not in a position of influence at Sony. Because MAG 2 should never see the light of day. Ever. All right? That first game was shit. I bought it. I played it for a week. I played it with Big Dog. We sweated it. The hit detection just didn't work. You'd fire literally 40 rounds into someone's face and it just wouldn't even class. And they just turn around and kill you in one shot. It was great. And none of the vehicles worked. It was a total clusterfuck. And everyone walked away.
They had some big ideas, mate. Big ideas.
So did Media Molecule, mate. And we see how that goes. Enough said. Spence, what are you thinking?
I was going to say Mag 2 brought to you by Media Molecule. That'd be outrageous. I think, and it's quite simple, and I think everyone should just agree with it. Killzone. Just bring back Killzone. I mean, we're all thinking it. We all want it. Think of how graphically impressive Killzone was back then. Think of how good it could look now. And not some cross-plat PS4, PS5 cross-generation thing. PS5 exclusive Killzone. It would be sick. And you could have like a little Q-Lite version.
I still think Killzone Shadowfall is still one of the most beautiful games I've ever seen. It is a PS4 launch game. It's incredible what they did with Killzone Shadowfall, to be fair. So, yeah. Oh, is it Shadowfall? Yeah, I think that's what it's called.
I think it was called Shadowfall, yeah. I think
it was Shadowfall, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Shadowfall.
Yeah.
It was,
but yeah, it was beautiful.
Stunning.
Absolutely beautiful game. And that was like the main reason I bought PS4 day one. I was like, yeah, that looks so rad. I can't wait to play it. It looks so cool.
Great game.
So, yeah, I agree with you. Bring back Killzone. Definitely. Yeah.
I mean, Christ.
100%. Those games
Or
were
Haze.
immense.
Haze, fuck
Or
no.
Haze 2.
Haze was not
No,
owned
no,
by
no,
us,
no,
thank
no,
you.
Haze, no,
Haze
Haze,
was
no,
not
no,
done
no.
by us. No. Don't push that
It's like
on
say,
us.
bring
The
back
Halo
Dog
Killer.
Sisters.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing. I love
Dear
Haze.
Dear God. I remember playing the demo for Haze, right? And all the magazines, all the PlayStation official magazines at the time were like, the next Halo Killer. This is it. It's PlayStation exclusive, done by Ubisoft, whoever it's done by. And I remember I boot the demo up and I was like, why does everything look so muddy? It looked like it was 540p. And I was like, maybe it's just a demo. It's going to be better on release, right? And I ended up going around my mate's house who had Haze, and I fired it up. And I was like, oh no. Oh no. This looks like a PS2 game, man. And it was just bad. It was just absolute cheeks. They were just trying anything to be the next Halo Killer. Christ. Nothing ever could.
Halo Killer, man. That's a term I haven't heard in a while. And it's funny that the Halo Killer at the end of the day was Bungie or 343.
343, yeah. Yeah.
It was a Halo Killer was the
So it was
suicide.
Halo was
Halo Killer was Halo, yeah.
Yeah. And now Call of Duty is the shooter, unfortunately. But hey, there you go.
It's like
That's
some
right too.
mad Heavy Rain plot that is, where Halo was the killer all along. I think, right, Killzone, but also we're not even thinking Factions is still yet to come out. Factions could be the multiplayer game that we need. For all we know, they've spent fucking years on it now, absolute donkey's years. It was supposed to come out with Last of Us Part 2, and it obviously got delayed. When did Part 2 come out? 2019? Ridiculous amount of time. They could suddenly be like, oh, we're showing you the gameplay now. It's got a first-person mode. Whoa! Bang. There you go. Sorted. And we're also just saying the FPS space. Why does our big competitor need to be a first-person shooter? It doesn't. It just needs to be a multiplayer game. It could be a fantastic third-person shooter like Gears, but it hopefully isn't. It could be anything. It could just be our Factions. Our Factions could be the big competitor. We don't really know. But if they want something safe with a big name that will 100% at least marginally compete, Killzone. That is the answer.
I mean, you're right, Spencer, because like the real Call of Duty competitors at the moment are games like Fortnite and FIFA and Madden. Like, they're the games that compete with Call of Duty when it comes to sales and it comes to audience. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a shooter. I mean, you're completely 100% right there. And I was wondering, when you said Factions as well, I mean, there's the rumoured Last of Us Part 2 remake coming out. Do you think that would be tied to that in some way? Because you were saying about how it should have come out with the original Last of Us Part 2. Do you think there'd be any like Factions connection, maybe a beta in there or something?
I imagine there probably will be a link. I can't imagine to what end. Maybe just releasing the same time, kind of like... I think they'd try to release the same time and they'd do what Capcom does with their games that can't be mentioned, where they're like also included as this multiplayer mode which comes out 2 years later. They might end up doing something stupid like that, which I suppose they've technically already done. But I think they'll probably try. I think they'll both be the same engine, 100%, and they'll both have the same graphical fidelity. Probably Factions may be worse, because obviously it's a non-linear experience. but I think they'll definitely try and do something with the two. But I think they'd kind of be shooting themselves in the foot if they paired them together as a package, because people will buy both. So I think it's smarter to keep them separate.
I know we're going off the topic a little bit, but the way to launch it is a second disc, a little demo disc that you've got to buy the game and you get the demo disc for factions. That's the way I would do it.
That's the way I do every single major
I've seen
release.
that being very successful.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
We all bought Zone of the Enders
it might
for
be
Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah.
It's the only reason why
Exactly
anyone
right.
bought Zone of the Enders.
Well, Crackdown on the Xbox 360, that sold really well, the original
Great
Crackdown,
game.
and the only reason it did is because you had Halo 3 beta on it as like an additional download, so there you go.
It works. It works.
Yeah.
Guys, while we bring this to a close, I just want to leave you just with a thought on this. You were mentioning about it doesn't have to be a first-person shooter, so my mind was reeling on that. I thought, actually, there's something to this. PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale 2, baby. That's the game that we didn't know we need, but we need. Maybe we don't compete with COD anymore. Now we compete with Smash. Let's get a game that sells bucket tons and get our Joels fighting our Kratoses. Bring it back.
That's a losing battle.
I mean, that
One's
makes
already
sense.
dead.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, if you want to compete with Nintendo, you got to make God of War kart, haven't you? That's the next one. It's got to be a kart racer. Dibs be in the head.
If this is the part of the show we're going to have some mad takes, here's my mad take. We get Counter-Strike 2 on PlayStation. Bring that to PlayStation. That would compete, bro.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Strongly
It would compete.
disagree.
Yeah, bring it over. Bring it over. Fuck it, why not? Didn't Source come over? Was it Source?
We had
with Valve.
CSGO. We had CSGO,
CS:GO.
on. It was part of the. Was it part of the Orange Box? It might have just been its own thing. But the issue was Valve didn't have a grip on controllers back then, so it controlled like arse, like the worst any game has ever controlled ever. It was abysmal, and you were locked at like 0.002 sensitivity.
Nice.
It had a quick turn button, I'm pretty sure, in an FPS game, because the sensitivity was so low they had to add one. It was bad. So as long as they fix that, CSGO 2, sure, but they won't. Not a chance.
Well, Valve have released their own handset now, so they understand handsets. They're past that. They
That's
could
true.
easily implement handsets into the new Counter-Strike. Why not?
I think it'd be a great shout if they could get hold of it and get it over. Fuck yeah, I'd try it out. I'd give it a go. I'd get smoked by all the PC lot, but you know that's the beauty of PlayStation is you've got a good enough player base that you can turn off crossplay. So we don't have to worry about playing with all the sweaty PC nerds, you know? It's just then the problem is that some people would use mouse and keyboard on the PlayStation, like the scrubbos on COD do. And yeah, can't be having that. Anyway, guys, I think that was a lovely little discussion. It didn't get too heated. Is there anything that anybody else wants to bring up on this deal closing or the future of PlayStation, what we need to do, or shall we bring the show to a close?
All I want to say, I'll say one thing. Now that this is finished, Twitter, shut up, please. I'm sick of seeing it. I've been seeing it for the last year, over a year. It's done. Stop talking about it. I'm good.
Yeah.
Get out my
Release is
face.
done.
I will
I
block
agree.
you. Get away from me. I'm done. It's done. I don't need to hear about it, please.
You can unmute Lewis now on Twitter, Spence.
Yeah.
Not yet. Give it a few months.
Amen, brother. I'm sick of talking about it as well. I'm glad that this is hopefully the last time that we do need to mention this and that this whole escapade is behind us. Thankfully, we only had mentioned it twice over a year and a half. So that's not bad going, really, all things considered, is it? Thank God we weren't talking about this every week. It would drive me nuts. But with that bombshell, news, and of course, with having a special guest on the show with Lewis, I want to say it's been an honor to have you on the show again, Lewis. I really, really appreciate your takes for Xbox and having you as the Xbox expert on the podcast. Thank you so much. Of course, if you want to follow Lewis and see what he gets up to, you can check out X Marks the Box and Xbox Podcast and Potato Pro Wrestling. Is that right? Have I got that one right for
Yep.
YouTube?
Potato Pro Wrestling, and I'm on Potato Pro Wrestling on Twitter and on Threads. Same with Xbox Box. And also, we've just launched our limited run Halo podcast, Halo There. So that's going to be
That's
around
a
for
great
6
name.
weeks.
That's a great name.
That is a fantastic name.
So we're going to hopefully have that for 6 weeks, and then we're going to be moving over to Starfield. Hopefully have a Starfield podcast for a couple of weeks as well. So I haven't got a name for that one yet. if you have any funny puns, let me know in the comments below. I would really appreciate that.
I think you're doing a great job yourself. That's a fantastic Halo podcast name, and I'll certainly be checking that out. But this has been episode 71 of In PS We Trust, a PlayStation podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, remember there's a couple of ways that you can interact and support the show. First off, if you want to support us, then of course, if you're watching on YouTube, then hi. Put a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if not already. If you're on any other podcast service, hit that ratings button. It all helps us. We're at a perfect 5-star rating on every single service, which is incredible. So thank you all ever so much. Could do with the numbers pumping up a little bit. So see what you can do. I'm not even going to insult you today. We're in the fresh new run of episodes. I'm feeling jolly. And finally, if you want to interact, if you want to give us your hot takes, your suggestions on what PlayStation can bring back, then of course you can reach out to us on the socials. We're on Twitter at InPSWeTrust. And all our individual Twitters will be in the description of the episode. Check them out. Get in touch. We don't bite. This has been episode 71. I've been Davey.
I've, of course, been Phil.
I've been Spencer.
I've been Lewis. Pleasure being here. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Take care, guys.
Peace.